Dr. Phillips had just finished doing a diagnostic checks on Lincoln, writing some notes on a clipboard. It hadn't been 5 minutes since he walked off on input the new data about the boy, and already something went wrong. Rita was in the room as well, but she wasn't holding Lily. The infant was just outside in the waiting room with the rest of the sisters. The mother held her hands anxiously, looking between the doctor and her son. Although Lincoln's face looked peaceful, but what transpired in his room was anything but. Richard finally finished his writing. Okay, Miss Loud, Lincoln will be fine. He just needs rest. His lack of breath was due to the fact that his ribs are healing. They can't expand like normally would be if someone's over-exaggerating their body. He needs to pace himself carefully to maintain his breaths until they're fully healed. Oh, thank God, the mother sighed in relief. Now, pardon my language, but what the hell happened here? And why is there a glass and cake on the floor? My daughter's the ones responsible for his current condition. They wanted to visit him to apologize for their behavior and for putting him in this situation in the first place. The cake was supposed to be as a gift, and the girls did apologize, but during the whole time, Lincoln appeared to be stuck in a trance or something. When he finally came around, he started screaming and tried running away from them. Rita turned to maintain the composure, but it was just very hard, knowing how it seemed her family was falling apart. He fell on the floor trying to run from us, and we wanted to help, but he continued to scream and then begged for his sisters not to hurt him. She then put a hand on the mouth to prevent her cries from ringing out. Richard scratched his pen against the temple for a moment. While it is unusual for someone to be afraid if they meet their attacker again from what you said, it seems that this has been a while. Is that true? The mother nodded. On Monday I brought Lynn Jr., and as she needed her bandages for her mouth, she wanted to speak to Lincoln. I was hesitant at first, but when she was insisted on making things right with him, she apologized as well, but even then, it seemed that Lincoln hadn't heard her. He smacked her with his food tray when she was right next to him. He's also been having nightmares almost every night about his sisters, I believe. What explains why Miss Heights was muttering about a broken tray that day? Phillips pondered on the information for a moment. This is more serious than I thought. What do you mean? Well, I've seen a few cases of it, but are you familiar with the term Syngenesophobia, Miss Loud? Rita was stumped. She recognized the phobia part, but not everything else. Synge what? Syngenesophobia. It means when one's afraid of relatives, like how much archophobia is associated with high places, hydrophobia with water, the doctor explained. Given what you said, yes. That alone broke Rita's will to stay composed. She broke down, tears streaming her face. How is my son going to live if he's afraid of his own family? All the kids have their own rooms in the same hallway. Richard shuffled awkwardly. He hated seeing a grown adult cry, even if it was a commonplace in his field of practice. Well, if it helps, he didn't appear to hold any fear towards your youngest child. His fear is likely directed his other siblings. As much as this was true, Lily seemed to be the only sister that would approach Lincoln without him going into panic mode. If he did, then he would have given the infant the same treatment whenever Rita came to visit. The mother of 11 wasn't so sure what to do, but she was sure as hell didn't want their little boy forced to live in solitude for the rest of his life. Please, Richard, is there any way to fix this? Welp, like all phobias, the best thing I could tell you is therapy. I once had my mesophobia, fear of germs, but my parents took me to a really good psychiatrist, and he helped me through it. It helped in my studies, which is why I'm a children's doctor today. I'm not a licensed therapist, so I recommend finding a really good psychologist. Rita didn't have much else to say after that, but if there was any chance Lincoln could live a normal life, she'd take it. The 10 Loud sisters were in the waiting room, filling it to despair with anxiety. Most of them have a sullen look. Eyes looked puffy after exhausting their tear supply. Only Lenny was still pouring water like a faucet. Lori was trying to comfort her infant sister, who was giving the small whines at this point. Luna was effectively devastated. She gave small sobs that were muffled, covered by her face. Luann sat depressed with her head up, supported by her hand on the arm of the chair she sat in, her lip quivering a bit. Lynn was doing a little better than the others. She practically expected Lincoln to freak out. Still, it was not in the way she imagined. She was still hugging Lucy, who was curled up into a ball in her seat. The twins were in a similar position. comforting each other while Lisa sat with a glum expression. Tear stains on her glasses were more evident, though. "It's true! Linky hates us!" Lenny yelled as her water started to pool down from the floor around her. "Correction, he doesn't hate us, Lenny. At least I don't believe so," Lisa stated, taking her glasses off to wipe them clean. "What we are about to witness is a heart-pounding panic attack." "Heck, now I get what you mean, but you mentioned it earlier," Luann added. "What are we going to do now?" Lana finally opened up. "To be frank, I have no idea. Our male sibling's reaction to us seems like it has a similar effect with Lynn's visit. I can safely assume our dear brother has developed a phobia." "Lincoln's made-up photo album?" Lenny asked, not understanding what the genius said. "No, Lenny. Remember your fear of spiders? It's like that," Lori explained. If Lincoln has a fear, then, for perhaps, maybe the first time in a while, Lenny hit the nail on the head of something. "He's afraid of..." She didn't even dare to finish the sentence, as more tears were coming out. "Yes, Lenny. The object of his fear is his own sisters," Lisa concluded. "What's even worse than facing an act of aggression." "But if I could kind of get over my fear of spiders, can Linky do the same?" the fashion diva asked, building some hope up. "Hard to say. I doubt we can even have the visual range for our brother, without his phobia taking control. But even the mere mention of names may set him off," Lisa replied. The double doors suddenly swung open, and his sisters looked to see their mother, who was about as glum as they were, possibly more. Judging by their looks, Rita knew that they were expected to answer on Lincoln's status. "Lincoln is doing fine now. He just needs to sleep for a while. And I also heard your girl kids talking when I got close to the door, and it's true. The doctor says he has syringe. I'm still having a hard time saying it, but yes, your brother is afraid of you girls." The news did not help their spirits at one bit. "However, it seems that the only person he doesn't react to is Lily. Dr. Phillips says the best way to help him deal with it is to find a therapist, since I have no clue on where to start, but that's going to take some time." "Mom, what's going to happen to Lincoln when he finally gets out of here? I don't think it'd be a good idea to scream his head off every time he opens his door," Lynn stated. "I'm still thinking on that, sweetie. I'll have to discuss with your father, but I think it's best if Lincoln didn't live with us for a while." The sisters gasped. It was already bad enough that Lincoln wouldn't be in the house until after he was released from the hospital, but not seeing their brother even longer than after what's like putting a flaming stake in their hearts and pouring salt on the wound. It just wasn't the Loud House without all the members being present, and considering Lisa's comments, no one wants to continue this on for months, or for God forbid years. Lola gripped at her seat in anger, fresh tears threatening to spill again. "Mom, we gotta do something! Anything but that! I want my brother back!" Lana had to hold the sister princess down. "Lola, I want him back too, but getting mad won't help." After nearly throwing her twin on the floor, Lola finally settled back into her depressed state. "I wish we never made up that stupid protocol. I already discarded the chart and burned the documents containing it," Lisa quipped. "Wait a second." At the moment, something had clicked in her mind, and regardless of the files. "Mother, I believe I know who can help us." Everyone turned to the child prodigy. "I remember during the time when Clyde had stayed over at the house for a slumber party, he mentioned having a family therapist that helped not only his parents' units, but also his various issues. Lincoln may know who it is." Lisa then stopped there, not wanting to know about what happened moments ago. Rita hummed at the thought. "It's a start, but will this therapist be any good?" The 4-year-old shrugged. "That's up for Clyde to vouch. Do you have his aboard's house phone number?" The mother shook her head. "No, but I believe your father does." Lynn Sr. was working tirelessly at his desk job. In all fairness, his work athletics lacked a bit since his son was admitted to the hospital. But he knew he much needed to provide for his larger-than-average family. Home life was very different. It was as if someone lived in a ghost town, or some more equivalent. No one really saw or spoke too much to each other, and the only time the house showed some activity was at dinner. Even then it was an awkward affair. The downtrodden looks looks of his daughters only fueled his father's self-hate even further. At this point, the only motivation he had working that day were things to return to normal, but even the universe seemed to be out of him today. Lynn Sr.'s phone vibrated on his desk. Seeing as it was his wife, he stepped out to talk. The pirate certainly didn't expect the bombshell Rita to give him. He certainly was worried about the girls visiting Lincoln. After hearing what happened with Lynn Jr., after all, at the end, the father cried so loudly at the stairwell, given how it was several feet away from the main office door. Everyone still heard his screams, even when Rita had pulled the phone away from her ear to avoid the temporary deafness. The mother managed to calm him down after a few minutes. Thankfully, though, still had a hard time talking afterwards. The father just couldn't believe it. It was one thing for Lincoln to be physically hurt, but now that he was afraid of half of his family too, the father wanted to cry again, but Rita begged him not to. Lynn, I know you're just as upset as I am. Yeah, but you don't want your boss to reprimand you again. Okay, I'm sorry. Lynn Sr. took a deep breath and exhaled. So what are you saying? Dr. Phillips said that Lincoln needs a therapist, and a good one. Lisa knows that our son's friend Clyde has one. Not sure if it's a good one, though, but... say no more, I'll ask them. He paused for a moment. Is he awake? No, he's still asleep. Right. Maybe we shouldn't have the girls come in today. Lynn, that's what I felt, but I really wanted them to try and make amends with their brother. Even be a good thing when we found out his condition was now instead of down the road. Lynn Sr. became more confused. What do you mean? Well, just think about it. Even if he does come home, he just hides in his room and never comes out. I know he usually does when he wants time to himself, but this time it would be probably because he knows his fears are on the other side of the door. It might even... Rita started to tear up as the worst thought imaginable came to his mind. She pictured the half-braining self pretty much on the Lincoln's room, his usual dinner. The boy wouldn't even dare to come out as he was still in contact with most of the siblings he was avoiding. The mother knocked on the door to try to get his attention, but to no response. Becoming worried, the mother opened the door, only to find her son hanging suspended from the ceiling lamp with a rope around his neck. A parent's worst nightmare indeed. The father listened to his wife's soft cries. Rita, it's not going to come to that, I promise. We'll find the best damn psychiatrist we could find, and we'll fix all of it. Rita sniffled. I just don't want him hurting himself again. Don't worry, my dear. I'll make some arrangements. I'm going to make a call to the McBrides. I will call you soon, okay? The two bid each other goodbye before hanging up. Lynn Sr. then dialed another number. He was silently prayed that someone would be home right now. God must have answered him, because the line was picked up after a few seconds. Hello, a young voice said. Clyde? Oh, hey, Mr. Loud, how's it going? Peachy, well, actually it's not great at all. Are your parents at home? Not at the moment. They're busy getting groceries. Right. You have a family therapist, right? Yep. Her name is Dr. Lopez. Not only she's helped me with my dad's with their relationship, but she's been a big help with me many times. I still come for her for other stuff. Not sure if she appreciates that. Okay, but I have one question. Do you think she can help us? The doctor just told us that Lincoln has a fear of his sisters and their father was cut off when the nerdy kid screamed. Lincoln has Syngenesophobia? Yeah, that's what I guess you could call it. Say no more. I will put in good word for you guys. And trust me, if anyone can help, it's definitely Miss Lopez. Lynn Sr. sighed in relief. Thank you, Clyde. Oh, and one last thing. I know it's going to be a while before Lincoln leaves the hospital, but we don't think he can live in the house, knowing the people he's very close to him he's afraid of. Myself and Rita worried Lincoln might hurt himself. So, do you think your dads will be okay with Lincoln staying with you guys, at least until things settle down between him and his sisters? Well, it wouldn't be the first time Lincoln stayed overnight. I don't think my dads would mind. He could use the guest room, Clyde answered, as he looked towards the aforementioned room. His two pet cats were sleeping soundly on the comforter. The boy grimaced, hoping that Cleopatra wouldn't cause any trouble. Dr. Miranda Lopez sat in her office. She was going through some of the notes when she took from her clients. Her office was rather spacious, as it was the building shared with a dentist, skincare specialist, and orthopedics. Aside from her desk, it was well contained with her master sofa, recliner with a lounging chair that her clients would usually sit on as if they needed to get more comfortable. Being 33 years old, the Hispanic woman heard him in the past, dedicated to achieve her goal of one day becoming a well-known licensed psychiatrist. She had received her master's field from her Howard University when she was 26, and while she didn't quite make it to the big leagues yet, she did appreciate taking the small step first. On her desk was a picture of her husband and her 2-year-old son, much like the same one Clyde dressed her when they were helping Lincoln last Saturday. She wore a green overcoat, brown shoes, and a yellow scarf, mainly because her neck was usually sensitive to cold temperatures. In her more physical aspects, she was also fairly tan-skinned and light brown hair. As she was wearing glasses, she even had a bit of makeup on her face. Working in Royal Woods for the last few years was a good start for the young psychiatrist. She had a decent number of clients, but none of them had measured up to the McBrides. She was considered them as the most challenging, in some cases annoying patients. Knowing how critical people can be when it comes to same-sex relationships, Miranda understood how Howard and Harold would feel about their love public. Even today, the two still had some instances of mockery that was just for their lifestyle. The annoyance part came from the frequent visits of their son Clyde. The most troubling issue with them was the constant obsession of a young older girl named Lori. Naturally, it was the case for any required love, but the issue was just the present 11-year-old was Dr. Lopez's very patient woman. But when she was beginning to lose the nerve when it came to Clyde. The office phone rang, pulling her from her notes. Glancing at the number, the woman had gave an audible sigh. She could go any day without a nerdy child calling her for something. "Wait, what is it this time, Clyde?" she asked, not caring to hide her irritation. "Sorry to call you this time, Dr. Lopez, but it isn't for me. My best friend Lincoln is going through really tough times right now. I'm pretty sure his dad will call you very soon and explain everything. I'm also just letting you know if anyone can help them, it's you." "Thank you for the compliment, Clyde. Is there anything else you—" The phone beeped twice. "I have another call." She pressed flash on the device. "Dr. Lopez's office?" "Yes, hi, is Miss Lopez in today?" a masculine voice asked. "This is she." "Okay, good, Dr. Lopez. My name is Linloud Sr. I'm calling because my family is in need of serious help." Miranda became intrigued. "Care to explain?" "I had just found out today that my son Lincoln Loud, he's afraid of 9 of his sisters." The psychiatrist did a quick pause. "Wait, did you say 9 sisters?" "Yep. My family is it's very big." Lynn Sr. chuckled nervously. "I see. What brought on this fear?" "It's a long story. I'm not really comfortable discussing it over the phone." "I understand. Well, I don't have any appointments this weekend, so can you bring your son in as soon as possible?" "Well, that's going to be difficult because he's in the hospital right now. Like I said, it's a long story. I think it may also help that, my daughters you see as well." Miranda then tapped her cheek and thought, if this was something too serious to talk at a distance, a face-to-face would certainly help. "Okay, you could bring your other children here whenever you can, and don't worry about the payment. We'll discuss about it later." The father hung up, leaving the doctor to her thoughts. "Been a while since I solved the case of Syngenesophobia. If Mr. Loud's family is as big as he says so, then this would be quite an interesting case."